Good morning. Got a little gap up here, a little relief from the pain, but it still looks lower. One day clearly doesn't make a turn. We're going to be talking about turns actually today in MT Live, so don't miss that. So, can we get a turn, a green day here? Oh, where's it gapping to? 173. Look at the size of the gap, 173. 173, 173. Now, if it was gapping over the top of that red bar, that would be impressive, but it is gapping more than halfway into it. So it's a decent start. Putting it in perspective of the 30-minute chart, looking at the cues here, really not a big deal whatsoever. But it adds support, the prior pivot low. I much would have preferred a gap below it and a little move down to the 200, but even a gap, a decent sized gap below it would have been set up for potentially moving back up into the red day. So yesterday was a pretty sizable gap down, but it didn't go down all that far. The buyers continued to, defend the low, not breaking down through it. And I was kind of hoping all day, most of the day, for it to break down through it to then get some type of a tradable bounce yesterday. And, well, obviously it didn't happen. It was just kind of a grind. So we'll see where this finishes the day. It's opening higher, which does create this level of support here. We'll see if it holds, but it's not getting all that far, into yesterday's range. So I guess let's just call it neutral for now. Futures, you see it was dipped down, overnight, down below the low. And this is something that we look for, one of our concepts I look for all the time, a greater than 100% retracement, where it dips down below the prior swing low. And at some point, once it, doesn't have to break exactly just below it. So the idea is once, it's moved from one point down below the prior point, it's going to have some stabilization. And all that happened, 1 o'clock in the morning, it began to stabilize. And then 3 o'clock, that's when Europe opens, up it went. So now it's up at resistance. And so as I'm looking at this hourly chart, the first thing that comes to mind is this a 1, 2, 3 continuation to move higher? Or, because this is in a bearish trend now, this pattern, if it could be a breakout bar failure. And what is that? That is where it goes sideways for a few bars and you get a wide range expansion bar. The only thing missing out of this, which is in the manual, is a minor topping tail. So I would look for a little bit more than that, looking at nuances, but it didn't close at the high. And then if we get an inside bar and then it breaks that could set up a breakdown bar failure. But this bar, as you can see over here, got a long time to go in it. By the time 54 minutes goes by, this could be the next green bar up. So too early to tell. We need a bar to be complete, and this is nowhere near complete to even think, that it's going to happen. So we got a stall here on the 5-minute, move up, and it's in an uptrend here. So bullish short term, but it's traveled a decent amount. So now what we do is our factory work, and we do every day when we see a wide range bar, and we look, thereabouts the halfway mark, and as long as it stays in this area today, can't get further than that. Just do this and look where it lines up. It doesn't always line up that way, but right up at this pivot high and this breakdown area. So if this should go up here, this is where we'd look to see if it begins to top out. So this 5-minute chart would be something that we'd be looking for, I'd be looking for, to say, okay, this is now in an area of resistance on a higher time frame. Now I can go down to a lower time frame and see some type of a distribution pattern. Well, that could be an M type of a top. It could be a head and shoulders top, but something where it creates a pivot and then retests, starts going sideways to break lower. So that would be the area for that potentially to set up if this doesn't roll over immediately. Let's look at SPY. And same process, 458, 459. Gapping near the top of the red bar. Decent start to the day where it's retested the low. And we got that bottoming tail bar at the end of the day yesterday, right up into some resistance there. Likely to stall it. Let's just scroll this over a bit. And you can see it right there. So up in resistance, and if it can clear here, where's the next reference point? Well, not too far away, but probably okay for a morning scalp up into that area. So as far as SPX, right, down below here, so the same pivot. So we look at SPY, we look at the futures, where they are, where's support. SPX doesn't update pre-market. So down here, so the thought being, okay, it's gapping up. Well, it could easily roll over. The momentum's to the downside. Where would be a safe level? Well, down below here. Now, it would have to clear this pivot. We talked about that yesterday. And this area of support. And, okay, it's cracked the 100, which is the 20 there. So then is there premium at 44.80? And no, no, you'd have to go, well, 4,500 or just below it. Which is not bad. I mean, even if it comes down there, it's going to hold that area. There's a huge open interest down there, as there usually is at a whole number. So down there I would consider to be a relatively safe level. And up above, $26.70. Considering the gap up, I don't think I want to respect the call side. But 46.70, it is above that pivot high. Like, you know, the downside has got more premium, so that's a much better way to go. Considering the gap up, it'll have to travel a whole lot further to get near that level. And we're getting these similar patterns, you know, in all of the indices. And that isn't always the case, as you might think. A lot of times there are huge differences, but we're getting similar patterns here. This one's already up at this resistance area. It should stall. And the same thing. Can it get above that? Well, where's the next level? Yeah. And so here's a good example. You know, as I see these things in the morning, always, you know, pointing out different concepts. And so this bottoming tail bar right here, you could look at that as being an area of minor resistance. And so then looking at inside of this bar, you see this area right here. So this is really the, you know, what's directly to the left, which would be resistance. I'd be surprised if it got up that high, because that's at the top of the bar. This area right here, this little congestion, might be as far as it might be able to get. Now, this is bad. So the breakdown on the weekly time frame, we're going to go look at the ETF. But this broke down under all of these pivots. And the longer it stays below this level and in the middle of this wide range bar down, the greater the odds that it's going to keep going down. And so looking at the ETF, we see the breakdown, and so far the week is still in progress. But so far, a close under all of these pivot lows, which opens up the door to a huge void below. So definitely be watching to see if this turns around or not. 209, not really a big deal as far as gapping into that big red bar. Bitcoin, it's really nothing here that is doing anything of significance, even though it's green. We got a green morning. We'll see if it can hold on to it. And this is into resistance, so that's not attractive. If this closes like this or a green candle, well, that would be worth the consideration for a long, at least for a short-term long. Get up above here. Oil. Can it get to $90? Of course it can, but we were looking at greater than 100% retracement to the downside. Now we see it to the upside. So the process is just reversed, but the idea is the same. It went from here up above the prior pivot high. We're anticipating a stall in momentum. Now we wait to see, does it actually happen? No. Today, just stall here. Does it break a prior day's low? So you can see on the way up, where this started the move, this was the continuation pattern, that bottoming tail bar. And as it moved up, as we move our stops, we look for either a pivot, right? 3 higher low bars to the left and right, or a range expansion bar, a wide range bar. So just breaking a prior day's low here is not meaningful. So we wouldn't trail bar by bar prior day's low here. You go under the wide range bar and then continue the process. Raise the stop, nothing, raise the stop, range expansion, raise the stop, and so on. So now that it's taken out the highs, now we see, do we get any kind of a meaningful stall and reversal? Transports. Right. That went down yesterday. It's on the 200. Surprised it didn't get down and fill the gap. So a little bit of strength there. And I don't get any update here pre-market, but again, it's down at a level, the unfilled gap, maybe a little further down today, but it's on the 200. So it's in an area where it makes sense that it began to hold. And VIX came up to the pivot high, but it didn't tag it. It looked like it tagged it there. So these things often line up like that. It's tempting to sell, yeah. A put on that, sure. I mean, if there's premium there, McGraw, why not? Down at this pivot, which is relatively close, but considering it went down this far, even if you get it put to you at the end of the week, I don't know, I don't know what premium is there, but why not? Internals. Close, but as I say, no cigar, so to speak. We wanted to see this push lower. And 1 second, guys, give me 2 seconds here. Okay. So the breadth got down here below minus 100. And based on this move down that we see in SPX, I don't think that's enough. And sentiment didn't come down through these bands. So, again, today's gap up is relatively insignificant as far as a turn goes. We'll see how far it gets. I mean, ideally, this comes down to 4,500, maybe breaks below it, We get our internals lined up, and then, we'd have things lined up, for a reliable turn day. Whereas, with prices are now, breaking below this swing low to the greater than 100% retracement makes sense for a stabilization, but really nothing more than that. I mean, if today, even with the internals not really there yet, I mean, if today was to close with a green day up above the high of this bar, we'd have to give it the respect it's due just by that forming in the area of this bottoming tail bar. And we'll just see how far it gets from there. Based on what's happening, I'd be very surprised to see it get past the 50 MA. But again, we have to see how things play out and just apply what we do every single day. Now, silver, that's impressive. And I'm surprised gold, while it's up, really isn't doing much here. Taking out these highs, and this has got room to keep going. So some type of continuation pattern or intraday get on board, but gold, if it can close this way, it's worth the shot. With a stop below yesterday's bar. And I know it's into this resistance, so the question is, can it hold on to the gain? This euro, we talked about this last week, breaking out, came all the way back in again, and the dollar just popped right back up, but up into where it should form a sell setup up here, up at that minor resistance. And interest rates continues to go higher. And yesterday we talked about the fact that this 5-year has been just accelerating, and just amazing that, this has finally started to move. So interesting. Well, I didn't look at that yesterday. This is still bullish. This, I think we looked at this yesterday. I showed you these. So this is still bullish that it's up here, the very short term against the very long term. But the 5-year against the 10 and the 30, coming all the way down where they are. So we'll see if this continues to improve. And if it does, the idea, of a yield curve inversion, if these actually inverted, that would be the beginnings of a big concern about this starting to come down further. So,
well, Greg, what was the one sentence summary of that article?
I'd have to go back and look at it. I don't remember at the moment. Do you have it? I emailed it to you.
Yeah, no, I didn't read it. No, I don't have time.
Yeah, I'll post it in the room later so everybody can read it.
Mm-hmm.
I started to read it. It seemed pretty interesting.
Mm-hmm.
There's one of McGraw. You'll like it because this guy is kind of, I guess, more known for gamma, and I forget his name, but I'll post the article and I'll post it in YouTube for everybody to read as well. But he's talking about interest rates.
Yeah, it's Numara. They're a big.
Well, that's the firm, Numara Securities, but this guy works for them.
Okay.
And the article, I scanned it relatively quickly, and it it mentioned gamma, so it caught my eye. I didn't read enough to really see what they're talking about. So, all right, all yours, Dan.
All right, cool. Good morning. Yeah, so Greg, as where I always think of MT Live of the day and talking about the turn. So today's another great example, and you just nailed today's subject. Is this a turn? Well, short term only, maybe, and we're wanting to use our other tools, which are market internals. And so no, it's not a confident turn. Same with IYT. There's zero turn here. There's zero. It's a red bar under the open at the 200, momentum down. So, but yeah, as always, there'll be great sessions. Let's see, in our open department, Valet, we had a beautiful entry over here. I just kind of arbitrarily said, let's try to sell a third at 1630, let it push a little bit higher, and if not, 30-minute low. Visa was in the weekend letter, and my alarm just went off. So that's gapping under Friday's bar. That's a call spread candidate. What else? A couple things bouncing a little bit. We have a short in PayPal. Yeah, so everything else looks fine. Oliver asking about Juniper being bearish. No, it's, 5 bars down to support and an uptrend. I would much rather, I wouldn't touch it unless it had a continuation pattern or a sell setup, a bounce and a reversal. And what concept would I now be looking for on the bounce? Less than 50% retracement is the answer with a sell setup, or it can't bouncing and let it bobble a few days and maybe a topping tail, and then it breaking support. So that would be a continuation pattern of the fangs here. They're all bouncing, but to different degrees. I noticed Microsoft up $4 or so, but that's ugly. That's a 1, 2, 3 with an ugly topping tail. That's actually a short under yesterday's low. If it takes out yesterday's low, it looks like a magnet going down to the 200. Semi's up $4 and change. Again, it's in a trading range. There's zero bullish pattern here on the daily, but day trade, maybe 10, 15, 30-minute high. I don't know. I see the 4 horsemen rolling a little bit here on the 5-minute chart. So the more they start to become in question in the market open, the longer I want to wait for long. So maybe 30-minute high. This could be a day trade. Target 300, 301. Nothing wrong with that for a day trade. I just saw Rocket. Remember Rocket Man? Rocket Mortgage, as opposed to Rocket Space Bezos Man. So this thing, that's a nasty downtrend. Another example of today's thing. Over here, you might say, oh, well, is it making the turn? Watch today's session and you'll see that we would say, no, it's not making the turn. So that poor thing still looks horrible. Nice 50-cent gap today, but still, it's not even on my interest list. Look at this thing. Something's wrong with my chart here, because oh no, my bad. It's this bar. Okay, never mind. It was an inside bar yesterday. Something's up with this. Oh, SBAB's marijuana. So everyone look, Greg posted that link to the interest rate article. So something's up. SBAB had a nice gap break. Look at this gap the other day on volume, and then went sideways. I was not looking at it, but that was viable there. This kind of looks like a buyout. When they gap up this much and just go sideways pre-market. Valley we talked about. Sophie. Now this is a shock bar. Nasty downtrend. It's not gapping over the pivot yet, but it's pretty darn close. So that's a very bullish gap. I'm going to put that as a pro gap. If this takes out a 30-minute high, then that's a gap igniting a new move. There's a lot of trapped bears. I think the news was they got approval to get into the banking business. Piton, I just saw in the journal that they're going to raise prices because they aren't selling as much. Good luck with that. That is one ugly downtrend. Is there any turn there? Absolutely not. That is ugly. Purchase, it's opening flat. Got zero interest in that. Oh, the Citrix from yesterday. It's still on my long list. Nice gap, a bottoming tail closed under the open, but it's a gap breakout. Daily, weekly, price void. That looks good. Asmel had earnings 739. It's a bullish gap, close to yesterday's high, but it's a big fat mess to me. Interactive Broker. That was a breakout failure. Topping pattern. Gapping. That's a mess. I got no interest in that. Oh, nothing. These are a couple earning stocks. HWC. That kind of looks like that KBE banking sector. I agree, Ken. You know, I mean, what a tactic. Wouldn't that be easy if businesses were that simple? Oh, hey, Martha, sales are down. Oh, we'll just raise prices then. Yeah, let's see how that works for them. If you're not buying it at $2,000, you think I'm going to now buy it at $2,500? Seeing nothing here. All right, I'm not seeing the pre-market print, but exactly, Ken. That was funny. Hey, Ken, you know what I heard on the radio today or TV, whatever? All right, I'm putting JB Hunt in a different window, but I can't see the gap. It said that, you know, Biden's new website today where you can mail away, you know, tests. All right, 61 bucks. That's a mess fast. It said it's not working on apartment buildings because the website will only recognize one address per street number. Like, are you friggin' kidding me? It's whatever the government touches. It's just, oh, here we go. I'm a believer in that statement of if the public can do it, let the public will do it much better than you. Other than military. Sturdy's asking about CHRW, another transport. Yeah, I like it. Yesterday's high. Let's say that this is the turn that we're talking about today. So it's a turn and an uptrend, pull back to minor support in the 20 MA. So that's worth watching, sure. CTXS, I'm just going to set an alarm and then free up my little window. I'm going to set an alarm at 102. See, I'm going to put CHRW here in the bottom right. The website designer. So well, I don't want to. Okay, hey, so this is the turn. This is today's session.